Joining me now with more on the progress of Mideast peace negotiations and the effectiveness of John Kerry's shuttle diplomacy is Ivan Eland. He's the senior fellow and director at the Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute. So nice of you to come in this evening. 10 visits. He's up against the clock. He's imposed this deadline. How difficult will it be to get to that goal?
Well, it's very difficult. I have to give him credit for intensity, and he's very dogged in his determination. But I think, you know, this conflict has been intractable for decades, and I'm not sure you see by your lead-in that both sides are still intransigent. So I don't see him getting through to either side, and I think both are liable to throw roadblocks in his way.
You know, it's interesting, these presidents get in their second terms. We've seen it with Bush, we saw it with Clinton, where this is their effort. They want to get a Middle East peace settlement, and these things kind of fall apart at the end. What are the sticking points at this stage, do you think? What are the real stumbling blocks that Kerry's up against?
Well, I think, you know, you saw John McCain was there today talking to Kerry, and he mentioned that if the Israelis withdraw from the West Bank, as they did from Gaza, that their security will fall apart. And of course, the West Bank is much more crucial than Gaza to Israeli security. But of course, this is occupied territory, and in international law, you're not supposed to settle occupied territory, so the Israeli settlements are illegal under international law. And of course, but their security perimeter, they want that buffer because a lot of Israel's a very small country. There's not a lot of strategic depth. Their cities are fairly close to, you know, the front line. And so the West Bank is very important to them for their security, and that's the real problem.
Just in advance of all of this, we saw the protesting on the Palestinian side. The Israeli deputy foreign minister had a stern warning for Kerry before his arrival. Everyone seems to be positioning, and all of them seem to be kind of attacking him. It's a difficult needle to thread in many respects. Is this to be expected as we get closer towards the finish line, that both sides will be jockeying for position, or how do you see it?
Well, sometimes in a negotiation when there's a lot of rhetoric, you know, it's masking a deal, but I'm not sure it is in this case. I think it's just rhetoric that's hardened over the years, and there's so much mutual suspicion. Everyone for years can plot out a settlement on paper, but the two sides just can't get to it because there's so much hatred over the years. You know, dispassionate experts can you know, put all the stuff they want on paper, but when it comes to getting actual leaders and their followers, which are the real problem, because the leaders are constrained by what their street are thinking and doing, and that's moved apart you know, in the last decade.
He keeps saying it's not mission impossible. It's not mission impossible, but listening to you and so many others,
I think it's mission improbable.
A mission improbable. Well, you know, when you look at the region, the stability there very shaky. We just saw this Beirut bombing. We know that Syria is in shambles. Egypt having its issues. What would a peace deal mean for the region? Would it mean much at all if he were able to achieve this?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, one of well, both of Israeli traditional enemies, Egypt and Syria, those are the big countries there. They're both in turmoil. And of course, you've got Iran, that's the other factor. And you know, we may get a nuclear agreement with them, maybe not. I mean, they're working on these things. So that's a factor too. So Israel, I think, is more secure than it used to be, but they don't really feel like it, given all this happening there. So that's a factor. What does it mean if they get it?
Yeah, it's an open question. Ivan Eland, always a pleasure having you in. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, we want to hear what you think in our Your Say feature. Do you think Secretary of State John Kerry's efforts will be successful in the Middle East in 2014? Share your thoughts with us on Twitter. That's CCTV_America, on Facebook, CCTV America, and on Weibo, CCTV News. Or you can email us. It's yoursay@cctv-america.com. We'll read some of your answers a little bit later on in our broadcast.